Did you know you're eating something right now that cancer cells absolutely love? Nearly 40% of us will face a cancer diagnosis in our lifetime. And while genetics play a role, the surprising truth is up to 40% of cancers can actually be prevented. You can't change your genes, but you absolutely can influence how they behave. And one of the strongest tools at your disposal is your diet. Cancer isn't just about bad genetics, it's a disease of metabolism and immunity. Even some foods we consider healthy could be quietly setting the stage for cancer to thrive. In this video, I'll explain exactly how certain foods feed cancer cells and give you a simple, practical framework for avoiding them. Here's the quick science. Cancer begins with a single abnormal mutation in a cell. For cancer to grow, these cells need specific conditions: glucose for energy, hormones like insulin to grow, inflammation to weaken your immune response, and new blood vessels to feed them. Unfortunately, many common foods directly promote these conditions. Take aflatoxins, potent cancer-causing molds commonly found on nuts and grains. Nuts like peanuts, almonds, walnuts, and pistachios can contain aflatoxins, especially when sourced from warm, humid climates. To minimize this risk, choose nuts carefully, avoid discolored or shriveled ones, buy nuts sourced from drier climates, and consume them promptly. Another hidden source of aflatoxins is dairy products, where cows may ingest contaminated feed. So choose dairy products carefully, especially if they're from less regulated sources. Next, sugar and processed carbohydrates are like rocket fuel for cancer cells, particularly breast, colon, and pancreatic cancers. Cancer cells burn sugar rapidly, triggering growth hormones like insulin and IGF-1, promoting cell division and inflammation. Reducing high glycemic carbs, like sweets, soda, bread, and pasta, and emphasizing fiber-rich, low-glycemic foods like vegetables, whole grains, beans, and berries can starve cancer cells and boost your overall health. Processed meats and red meats have also been linked to increased cancer risk, particularly colorectal cancer. Although research isn't perfectly clear on causation, processed meats often contain nitrites, which become carcinogenic in the body. High-temperature cooking methods like grilling or frying meats produce harmful compounds that damage DNA. Enjoy meats moderately, prioritize lean options, and always balance with fiber-rich vegetables and grains. Alcohol is another confirmed carcinogen, linked strongly to cancers of the mouth, throat, liver, breast, and colon. Alcohol damages DNA, interferes with vitamin absorption, and enhances absorption of other carcinogens. Reducing alcohol intake significantly lowers cancer risk. But let's dive deeper into each of these categories to understand how our diet profoundly affects cancer development and progression. Aflatoxins, first discovered in the 1960s, are one of the most carcinogenic substances naturally occurring in our food supply. They're produced by molds that typically contaminate staple foods stored in moist, warm conditions. Peanuts and tree nuts, such as almonds, walnuts, and pistachios, are particularly vulnerable due to their production and storage methods. Aflatoxins primarily target the liver, leading to liver cancer, and the toxins can accumulate silently in our bodies over time. To reduce your exposure to aflatoxins, always inspect nuts closely before consumption, discarding any that appear shriveled, discolored, or moldy. Purchasing nuts from reputable sources and consuming them soon after buying can significantly minimize risk. Moreover, choosing brands that source their products from drier, cooler regions reduces mold contamination likelihood. Roasting nuts, particularly peanuts and pistachios, can also reduce aflatoxin levels, although it won't eliminate them entirely. Dairy is another subtle aflatoxin carrier, particularly milk sourced from cows fed contaminated grain. Aflatoxin M1, a metabolite of aflatoxin B1 found in contaminated feed, transfers into milk, posing additional risks. Always select dairy products from reputable suppliers who test their feed for contaminants, particularly if you consume raw or unpasteurized dairy products. Sugar and processed carbohydrates significantly influence cancer risk due to their role in metabolism and inflammation. Excess sugar in the diet leads to chronic elevations in insulin and insulin-like growth factor, IGF-1, potent hormones that promote cell growth and division. Cancer cells typically have increased receptors for insulin and IGF-1, meaning they are highly responsive to these growth signals. This response accelerates their proliferation and increases their ability to evade immune system surveillance. The consumption of high-sugar foods creates a feedback loop, enhancing inflammation and oxidative stress, both well-known cancer-promoting factors. This inflammatory environment damages DNA, further increasing cancer susceptibility. Furthermore, chronic inflammation suppresses the immune system, weakening the body's natural defense mechanisms against cancer cells. By adopting a diet low in processed sugars and refined carbohydrates, you effectively reduce the fuel supply to cancer cells. Instead, focus on incorporating low-glycemic, high-fiber foods such as vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and fruits, especially berries, known for their potent antioxidant properties. These foods regulate blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and improve immune function, collectively creating an environment hostile to cancer. Processed and red meats present another dietary challenge in cancer prevention. Processed meats contain preservatives like nitrites, which convert to carcinogenic nitrosamines under stomach acid conditions. Consumption of these meats is strongly linked to colorectal cancer. Additionally, cooking red and processed meats at high temperatures generates carcinogenic compounds such as heterocyclic amines, HCAs, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, both implicated in cancer development through DNA damage. Although observational studies strongly associate high consumption of red and processed meats with cancer, isolating meat as the sole factor remains challenging. Lifestyle factors like smoking, exercise habits, and overall dietary quality significantly influence these outcomes. Nevertheless, moderation in meat consumption combined with healthier cooking methods, such as baking or steaming, can significantly lower cancer risks. Alcohol's link to cancer is unequivocal. Classified as a Group 1 carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, alcohol directly damages DNA through its metabolite acetaldehyde, disrupts normal DNA repair mechanisms, and induces nutritional deficiencies critical for cellular health. Alcohol also amplifies carcinogenic effects of other substances, such as tobacco, increasing overall cancer risk. Reducing alcohol consumption substantially lowers the risk for multiple cancers, particularly of the oral cavity, throat, esophagus, liver, colon, and breast. If you choose to drink, moderation is crucial, and complete avoidance is advisable for those with a heightened cancer risk. Lastly, dietary fiber plays a significant protective role against cancer, especially colorectal cancer. Fiber increases bowel transit time, reducing exposure of intestinal cells to carcinogenic substances. It also nourishes beneficial gut bacteria, producing short-chain fatty acids that exhibit anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer properties. High-fiber diets, abundant in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes, significantly lower cancer risk by creating a less inflammatory, more immunologically robust internal environment. Striving for fiber-rich meals not only supports digestive health, but actively prevents cancer formation and progression. This isn't an exhaustive list, so if you have other concerns or questions about cancer and diet, let me know in the comments below. Stay healthy, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.